working to connect a region of over 600 new bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Judith Timera, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines. The death toll from the novel coronavirus surged past 900 in mainland China on Monday, overtaking global fatalities in the 2002-3 SARS epidemic, even as the World Health Organization said the outbreak appeared to be stabilizing. A Thai soldier who killed at least 26 people before being shot dead in a mall by commandos went on the rampage because of a debt dispute, the kingdom's premier said Sunday. And more than 70 exhibitors, including U.S. aerospace giant Lockheed Martin, have pulled out of the Singapore Air Show over concerns about the coronavirus outbreak, but organizers insisted that Asia's biggest aviation event would still go ahead. The death toll from the novel coronavirus surged past 900 in mainland China on Monday, overtaking global fatalities in the 2002-3 SARS epidemic, even as the World Health Organization said the outbreak appeared to be stabilizing. With 91 more people dying in Hubei, the province at the center of the outbreak, the toll is now higher than the 774 killed worldwide by severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS. The latest data came after the WHO said the last 4 days had seen some stabilizing in Hubei, but warned the figures could still shoot up. At least 39,800 people in China have now been infected by the virus, believed to have emerged late last year in Hubei's capital, Wuhan, where residents are struggling to get daily supplies. The epidemic has prompted the government to lock down whole cities as anger mounts over its handling of the crisis, especially after a whistleblowing doctor fell victim to the virus. With much of the country still not back at work after an extended Lunar New Year holiday, cities including financial hub Shanghai ordered residents to wear masks in public. Michael Ryan, head of the WHO's Health Emergencies Program, said the stable period of the outbreak may reflect the impact of the control measures. A WHO international expert mission left late Sunday for China, the agency's Director General Tedros Adhanom said on Twitter. The mission is led by Bruce Aylward, a veteran of previous health emergencies. While the death toll has climbed steadily, new cases have declined since Wednesday's single-day peak of nearly 3,900 people nationwide. Meanwhile, the death of a whistleblowing doctor whose early warnings about China's new coronavirus outbreak were suppressed by the police has unleashed a wave of anger at the government's handling of the crisis and bold demands for more freedom. Ophthalmologist Li Wenliang was among 8 physicians who sounded the alarm about the virus in late December, only to be reprimanded and censored by the authorities in central Hubei province. After Li's death was confirmed early Friday, the 34-year-old doctor was lionized as a hero on social media, while officials were vilified for letting the epidemic spiral into a national health crisis instead of listening to the doctor. But many also used the occasion to demand more liberties in the Communist Party-ruled country, with the hashtags "I want freedom of speech" and "We demand freedom of speech" appearing on Twitter like a Weibo before being censored. And I quote, "Chinese people are only allowed one kind of freedom, and that is the freedom given by the country and the Communist Party," commented one Weibo user. Local authorities in Hubei and its capital Wuhan, the city of the epicenter of the crisis, had already faced a rare, uncensored criticism online in recent weeks for initially downplaying the magnitude of the outbreak. while the World Health Organization and some experts have heaped praise on China, saying it took decisive steps to try to contain the virus. Critics say precious time was lost by the early inaction of the local government. Hubei and Wuhan officials held the key political meetings in the first weeks of January. The death toll and number of cases only began to soar afterwards, going from 1 fatality on January 11 to more than 900 barely 4 weeks later. Li, who was diagnosed with the virus on February 1st, said in a Weibo post in late January that local police had forced him to sign a statement, agreeing not to commit any more law-breaking actions. He said police had summoned him after he had seen test results from some patients suggesting SARS in December, and decided to remind his colleagues in a group chat to take stronger precaution measures. After the Wuhan Central Hospital confirmed on Weibo early Friday that Li had joined the growing number of victims, mourners left hundreds of thousands of eulogies.
疫情发生以来，广大医务工作者不顾个人安危，舍小家为大家，迎难而上，英勇奋战在抗疫最前线，为保护人民生命健康做出了重大贡献。我们表示崇高敬意。当前，抗击疫情正处于关键时期，防控形势依然严峻复杂，需要全社会更加关心关爱医务人员，团结一致，万众一心，共克时艰，坚决打赢疫情防控阻击战。
这个形容是没错的，我完全同意。然后，他是一个，首先他是肯定是在他的业务上的，或者在他的工作上面是非常有能力的，不然他也不会第一时间能发现这个现象。然后第二个就是他非常勇敢，非常正直，就是能够把事情真实的表达给大家，然后表达给群众。事情本身也是一种内心的一种愤怒，因为不光是他，然后可能这也是每一个人可能以后都会遇到的一种局面，可能都会变。
也是为了国家献出自己的生命。我这个也很年轻，所以心里还是非常同情的。
The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, brought back to the Philippines on Sunday a total of 30 Filipinos who wish to return home from Wuhan City, the ground zero of the 2019 novel coronavirus acute respiratory disease, or the 2019 nCoV ARD. The repatriated Filipinos on board the chartered flight, which landed at the Haribon hangar in Clark Air Base, included 29 adults and an infant. Together with the repatriates were a 10-member team from the Philippines, which included 2 members from the Philippine Consulate General in Shanghai, 3 members from the DFA Office of the Undersecretary for Migrant Workers Affairs, or the OUMWA, and 5 medical team members from the Department of Health, or DOH. Upon their arrival, the Filipinos were transferred from the plane into their dedicated buses and brought to the Athletes Village in New Clark City in Tarlac, which will be their home for the 14-day quarantine period. More updates on the coronavirus. Let's head on over to Thailand, where our Southeast Asia Bureau correspondent Cristel Parera reports from Bangkok. Watch this.
Thai officials here reported more cases of human-to-human transmission of coronavirus with 6 people, 4 Thais and 2 Chinese tourists. They're the latest that have been found infected. Dr. Tanarak P. Pat, Deputy Director General of the Disease Control Department, the country is now in the stage of disease transmission. And since they are staying in places full of foreign visitors, tourists are likely to be in areas of disease transmission. Now, health authorities contacted South Korea for information about a Korean woman found infected with novel coronavirus on her return from Thailand despite having never visited China. The 42-year-old South Korean woman tested positive for the virus after arriving home from Thailand on January 19. She became ill on January 25. Now in quarantine, she is the 16th person found to have contracted the virus in South Korea. Dr. Tanarak said that authorities were informed of the case in South Korea and were seeking details of her test results, condition, and where she had visited in Thailand. The information would help them locate people who might have been in contact with her. Dr. Tanarak said the case of the Korean woman does not change the degree of risk concerning the disease in Thailand, and the chances of contraction remain low here in Thailand. Suwanachai Watanaying Charanchai, Director General of the Disease Control Department, told the press that the 4 Thais included a couple who had just returned from Japan. The 2 others were drivers who had driven Chinese tourists in their vehicles. The 6th and most recent patient was moved from a private hospital to the Bamrasnaradura Infectious Diseases Institute and placed on a respirator as he is 70 years old and has underlying tuberculosis. He was the driver of a van that took an elderly Chinese woman to Wahin, where she was receiving treatment for the infection in hospital, and her health was improving. The number of infections discovered in Thailand rose from 19 to 25 on Tuesday. 8 people have recovered and been discharged, while the other 17 remained in hospitals. Meanwhile, Deputy Prime Minister and Public Health Minister Anutin Chanvirakul said on Tuesday 138 Thais had boarded a Thai Air Asia flight from the epicenter of the outbreak, Wuhan in China, to Thailand. A total of 144 Thais in Wuhan and Hubei province had been due to arrive in Thailand aboard an Air Asia flight Tuesday night. However, only 141 showed up at Wuhan Airport for the evacuation flight. Mr. Anutin said 138 of the 141 had passed health checks and were allowed to board the plane to Thailand. Of the 3 not allowed to leave China, 2 had fever, while the other was found to have overstayed their visa. Thailand now requires visitors from China to show medical certificates stating they are healthy, but it has not adopted a blanket travel or visa ban and insists it has the health situation under control. Meanwhile, some pharmacies and convenience stores in 2 Bangkok districts were found to be running short on supplies of masks despite assurances from Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. The cabinet on Tuesday made face masks and hand sanitizers price-controlled products in the wake of the coronavirus outbreak and nationwide air pollution. Reporting from Bangkok, Thailand, this is Lady Cristel Pereira, and I am 1 with 25.
In Good Shape, your weekly health show on DW that covers many aspects of healthcare. We look at what's new in medical treatment, nutrition, fitness, and beauty. We discuss these topics in depth with specialists.
Innovation, digital disruption, globalization. Startups, micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as large corporations, all face interesting challenges in the market today. Peek into the world of exciting opportunities and partnerships to drive growth with the latest business news and information. We are open for business. Join the conversations to create a more vibrant environment for entrepreneurship. Catch Open for Business every Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Open for Business, from vision to action.
Landmarks, Linggo, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi.
Welcome back. A Thai soldier who killed at least 26 people before being shot dead in a mall by commandos went on the rampage because of a debt dispute. The kingdom's premier said Sunday, offering the first official motive for the unprecedented shooting spree. Sharpshooters brought an end to a 17-hour ordeal when they killed the gunman on Sunday morning, after a night which seesawed between heavy exchanges of gunfire and terrifying dashes for mall exits by shoppers trapped in the Terminal 21 Mall in Nakhon Ratchasima, also known as Korat. 26 people, including civilians, the youngest a 13-year-old boy, and security forces were killed by the rogue soldier, said Thailand's Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha. At least 2 were undergoing brain surgery. Prayut, a former army chief, blamed a personal problem over the sale of a house for the soldiers' rampage, which began on Saturday afternoon near an army barracks and was for several hours relayed by the gunman via Facebook post. The attacker, a junior army officer identified as Sergeant Major Jakrapant Thoma, used a stolen M60 machine gun and rifles from one of Thailand's largest barracks, as well as a military Humvee, to carry out the attack. Prayut said he overpowered security at the barracks arsenal. Most of the dead were killed in and around the mall. Volleys of gunfire rang out at the siege, as the siege ran into dawn, hours after Thai security services stormed the ground floor and freed scores of terrified shoppers from the rampage. Frightened shoppers sent cascades of messages to friends and family on social media from storerooms, barricaded in toilets, and hidden under tables as the gunman stalked the mall. With a machine gun slung over his shoulder and in full combat gear, Jakrapant swaggered through the emptied-out floors in hunting footage captured by CCTV cameras.
จะมีการทดสอบแล้วก็ถามไปแล้วมีสาเหตุอะไรก็ความขัดแย้งส่วนตัวเรื่องธุรกิจที่ดินอะไรเขานิดหน่อยก็เขากับแม่ยายเขานั่นน่ะคือมีการซื้อขายบ้านอะไรกันแล้วก็เรื่องเงินค่าตอบแทนต่างๆมันมีปัญหากันก็ทะเลาะกันมา3 วันแล้วก็ไม่มีใครคิดว่าจะรุนแรงขึ้นนั่นเขาใช้อาวุธกับเจ้าหน้าที่ไงเขาได้ปืนไปแล้วจากนั้นเขาเอาปืนที่ได้ไปทางไหนต่อไปยิงเจ้าที่คลังอาวุธซึ่งมีกุญแจมีเจ้าหน้าที่เฝ้าแล้วก็ยิงคนนี้ตายนั่นแหละเข้ามายังไงไม่ใช่หละหลวมอะไรทั้งสิ้นเลย
In the Philippines, the Office of the Solicitor General asked the Supreme Court on Monday, February 10, to cancel and revoke the existing franchise of ABSCBN Corporation and its subsidiary by filing a quo warranto petition with the High Court. In a statement, Solicitor General Jose Calida said, quote, "We want to put an end to what we discovered to be highly abusive practices of ABS-CBN benefiting a greedy few at the expense of millions of its loyal subscribers. These practices have gone unnoticed or were disregarded for years." The legislative franchise of the media giant is set to expire in March, and the House of Representatives has not yet tackled the bills seeking to renew the firm's license to operate. The OSG also used the same quo warranto mode to oust Supreme Court Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno from her Chief Justice post, saying that her holding the position was void from the start. The quo warranto petition was filed against ABS-CBN Corporation and its subsidiary ABS-CBN Convergence Inc. ABS-CBN's legislative franchise ends on March 30. The OSG said that its petition will show that ABS-CBN has been broadcasting for a fee, which is beyond the scope of its legislative franchise. Calida said the media has also been hiding behind an elaborately crafted corporate veil and has been allowing foreign investors to take part in the ownership of a Philippine mass media entity. He said that this was in violation of the foreign interest restriction of mass media provided under Section 11, Article 16 of the Constitution. Calida referred to the firm's pay-per-view channel through ABS-CBN TV Plus, particularly the KBO channel. He said ABS-CBN abused the privilege granted by the state when it launched and operated a pay-per-view channel in ABS-CBN TV Plus, the KBO channel, without prior approval or permit from the National Telecommunications Commission. While it is true that broadcasting is a business, the welfare of the people must not be sacrificed in the pursuit of profit. Calida said that ABS-CBN, like Rappler, had issued Philippine Deposit Receipts or PDRs through ABS-CBN Holdings Corporation to foreigners in violation of the foreign ownership restriction on mass media in the Constitution. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said Friday the impact of the novel coronavirus or the 2019 nCoV in the country's trade and economic performance is minimal. In a text message to reporters, Lopez said the country's or the Philippines' overall trade with the province of Hubei, ground zero of the 2019 ANCOV, is only 0.9% of the total trade with China. Hubei only shared 1.2% of the Philippines' import from China and 0.5% of the country's total export to the East Asian nation, he added. Lopez said, quote, assuming companies sourcing from affected areas in China, they may find alternative sources so as not to disrupt their supply chain. So this would further minimize the impact on trade. Data from the Philippine Statistics Authority show that from January to November last year, two-way trade between the Philippines and China amounted to $31.34 billion. The Philippines' exports to China stood at $8.79 billion, while imports from China reached $22.55 billion. Lopez noted that the main effect of the 2019 ANCOV is on the movement of the people, particularly the tourism sector. But it can mean a lowering of the hotel and plane rates to encourage more domestic tourism, he said. More than 70 exhibitors, including U.S. aerospace giant Lockheed Martin, have pulled out of the Singapore Air Show over concerns about the coronavirus outbreak. But organizers insisted Sunday that Asia's biggest aviation event would still go ahead. Precautionary measures, including a major reduction in public attendance and temperature screenings, have been imposed ahead of the opening of the event, which opens Tuesday in the city-state, which has reported 40 coronavirus infections. Organizers were also encouraging attendees to greet each other by bowing or waving instead of shaking hands. Lechat Lam, the managing director of organizer Xperia Events, confirmed that more than 70 exhibitors have decided not to participate, but said there was still strong presence at the show. The biggest names in aerospace participate in the Singapore Air Show, and often massive deals, such as aircraft orders from major carriers, are announced at the event. The outbreak, which has killed more than 900 people and infected tens of thousands across China, has spread to nearly more than 24 other countries and sparked global concern. Many nations, including Singapore, have barred the entry of travelers who had been to China recently from entering or transiting through its territory to counter the spread of the virus. Despite the ban, the Chinese Air Force will take part in the air show for the first time. The acrobatic team will participate in the flight displays, the highlight of the biennial event, but more than 10 Chinese companies have withdrawn. On Friday, Singapore upgraded its disease alert to the second highest level on its 4-point system. Lockheed Martin and plane maker de Havilland pulled out after the alert level was raised. Canada's Bombardier had already withdrawn. The South Korean Air Force's aerobatics team had pulled out of the Singapore Air Show earlier this week because of the virus outbreak. And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Judith Yamera, and I'm 1 with 25.